The Tibetan version of the Lotus Sutra that I read today might be just a bit longer than usual because I'll finish explaining the entire introductory chapter. So the transmission recitation might take just a little bit more time. It may be a bit more than before.
Tinin jahor jonna jiru shanju sanwa chimbo shamba nang tamchita dambi shanju sanwa tsokte lakme pa rikjiwa ta ndona tevjang shaba chu chimbo zhag bimber wek tamza pro gongba 本来藏文和汉文当中好像汉文是很经典的，然后藏文呢是比较多的，就文字当中。 Rikjiwa tang dar tevjang shaba chuji char chimbo ngombram bebo chuji ringa chimbo rabdo dongwa chuji rjamsan chimbo rabdo jangwa tang chuji jumma chimbo rabdo baram zapa tang chuji tong chimbo rabdo baba tang chuji ringa wache rabdo dongwa tang chu tamba chimbo zapa gongba te rikjiwa dar tar poba tang ter tar ngunji tevjang shaba chamba yang dobar zoba san yer namji ngar ten dar tawan da kam tong te ngunji tevjang shaba te tak ki chang gozir ki nawan da tang Dagnan Dartar Tevjang Shaba Yang Chu Chimbo Jagpam Berbi Tam Zapa Jipa Tang Chu Chimbo Jagpa Tubram Zapa Jipa Tirtaver Ngartendam Zapar Nyambar Shieto Tichir Jena Tevjang Shaba Jamba Yang Zoba Santin Jitin Dam Mamtamba Chu Jir Nam Jang Jabar Jipi Ngarte Chumjir Chimbo Gozir Rapta Tang Nawandar Taver Tondo Rigjiva Dag Jambandi Pitina Kara Chang maybe chi chang me bia ho de me ba sam ji me ji bi de ge sam ji me ji ba de ge men lang wa chat me ba di pa ru yi chi pa ru de ji ra di ce di na de jing sha ba zhe zhen ba yang de bo zu bo san ji ri ba dan jiao si dan ba de ru zhe ban ji tin pin ba ji wen de ra ka lo ji ra la na me ba yang la dan mer nam ji dong ba san ji zhong den de nier da zhu ma ji xia wan ji den de xiong wa de di qi duan ba zang bu shu ba tong mer ge wa de ge wa ta mer ge wa dong zong bo cing zhu zong bo ma ji ba yong zi zo ba yong zi de ba yong zi xiang wa yang de ber dong den de da de nyang tu nam lan Jivatang, Gavatang, Navadang, Chivatang, Nyanda, Smevan, Dombatang, Dingertang, Yidma Devan, Chikbali, Ratu, Dobi, Shir, Nyanglen Dibim, Tartikba, Dimba, Jedang, Dambatang, Tinjam, Jirin, Jongana, Tinjam, Jirin, Jongana, Jibi, Churtondo, Shanchi, Sangwa, Chimbor, Namlan, Laname, Bayang, Topper, Zoba, Sanji, Shanchi, Left, Samte, Paru, the Chimbatri, Damba, Tamchin, Kimbe, Yishi, Jim, Tartikba, Churtondo, Rikiva, Division, Division of Shabba, Jumbayang, Topper, Zoba, Sanji, near that Drumati, Paru, Chi Paru Na, Yang, Division of Shabba, Jumbayang, Topper, Zoba, Sanji, near that Drumaji, Shavan, Jitin, the Shonte, Mapan Bandar Tate, the Narudan, Naru Jupi, Trindi, Division Shabba, Jumbayang, Topper, Zoba, Sanji, near the Drumaji, Shava, Jishavaram, Zanasi, Riba, no, Achuba, Shatate, Dartar, Abaradanzi, Rigs, Tanba, Division of Shabba, Nutrition, Mapamba, Division Shabba, Nutropo, Tetokotomi, Division Shabba, Titami, Division Shabba, the Tetokachu Shabayang, Samber Shoba, Tomar Geva, Varta Geva, Tamar Geva, Tons, Singjuzumo, Manjiba, Yonsu, Toba, Yonsu, Toba, Yonsu, Shamar, Tunte, Tirter, Tunte, Nyantur, Nalan, Tia, Narga, Navadan, Chevada, Nyanda, Mengam, Dombadan, Demura, Yidme Devadan, Chubale, Raptor. Shindab Davi Shiradam, Yangaland Bim Tartik Bandimba, Jetan, Dambartinjam, Jirum Jongwalan Jibichu, Stone to Shanchu San, Huasan, Huachimbo, Lanamibayan, Toporzoba, Shanchu left something, Pardushim, Batik, Damana, Tamjim, Ishi, Jim, Tartik Bichu, Stone to Mapan Bandar Tarte, Dabjum, Yantapachum, the Teon Sabat, Jumban, Toporzoba, Santini, the Dramatism, Sabajon, Jun Retier, Jang Kapna, Jigbatela, Mumber, Motion, get you. Operateur, Jarojon, Lotu Jivadam, Lotu Jivadam, Tai Lotu Jivadam, Control Lotu Jivadam, Cabra Lotu Jivadam, Tezon Connection by Jivadam, Ayandi Lotu Jivadam, Jarojon, Chuju Lotu Jivada, Yoto, Mapamba, John, then the near the Dromati, J, Jarojon of Yapotet or Zimchi Chimbotan Kirte, Teta Rere, Yang, Lounge Chimbo, Jala, Lonsu, Jupiter, Teta Nayan, Jaro Sheto, the dog of John, then the Captain Shon, she, the Lanami Bayan, Doper Zobo, Shanchip, the Mumber Zober San, Gibatune. gerbu long sho tamchi dar pang de chondan de jis rab de shong de tamchi lana me bayang da bur zobo shanjib da yang da bur zobra ji de churma ber ger to gero jon de de lar tag da sam bur sho ba san de ger tong mang bo ge sa ki ber ger to ma ban ba ti che na yang chondan de de ba jab chuma da bur zobo san nir da jon me ti ni ber tam ba chen bo ji sha we chu ji nam ram dor de shen de ge ba chen bo shang chu sen hwa nam la dam ba tamchi ji yong su zong ro sha de ne 니버 담바 침보 집샤 추지 남전 좀 돌대신도 디바 디체까지 당직 예점 되냐라 고른디바 되냐도 추지 어떤 침보 되냐 학교 종구 jon데 타이방이 버 담바네 바집샤 당한자나 뉴버지데 그 먹요장 심 먹요를 저네 지서 존던데 데스터 지바데 마타도 존던데 메독 만다라와 침보도 만지셔 침보다 히 메독 데다가 쳇 침보 몸으로도 존던데 코담 지발라 몸으로도 탐쳤다 뭐 상지지 장 남바 찍도 유버 찌르데 거건더라던 거라던 뎀건더 랍더더 바던 측건더 랍던 측소 마반바양 디체는 거데도 게롱도 게롱마다 게닌마다 타당 허당 노진의 지자단 하마인다 남카 당도 뭐음지도 도시 전부 담마다 마인다 갭천다 스톱진 쿨로 게라다 알랑 지윈 쿨로 게라는 디네 코르포레 게라데도 담지바 탐치도 존든 데라 타장 umzardır matte şonre gerto dinice devjan dice jondan temoş hoca jumba nirda jometin hmensem giver kim zorhone gozur şonte dine şarşuk di sanki gijan nitr şonte sanki gijan tedo gozur tedo got şimdi kebr navar gerde map mandır tarte hoyna tartar di sanki gijan da navar gerwa devjan 마픈 바양디 제나 좀든데 디점장네 산주선화 저건 뉴션 고바당 코르데나 주년바데다 그고서 침부 나와든 직ten지 나와시빔 통네 몸살들 몸살들 맞도 jirde 단모 침부 쇼모 마픈 바디 제나 좀든데 디담발라 산주선화 침부 원축 집샤 와르 데디 로마 게드 요도 게게 요도 당我看看
Many dislike transmission. Those in the institute are okay. But many people outside now, they don't want to listen at all and will simply leave when the teaching actually starts. I really hope that they can at least stay and listen to the entire sutra to the end. There's nothing I can do. I've already mentioned it many times. 马本马地在中等的丹巴拉上是生活情报温出去下兄弟路嘛别有的中等的的当然在电视上的像就生活像就生活温出来咱们的但比就把马卡布南张也不了顿的瓦提卡拉直接苍瓦dan chigla jigner como shu semma yovar shato kurde da tamche jang tang chiglan kote lim shu semma yovar varker chigchir chundan tele chunyan den kurde ne shanchu sanhwa yang shanchu sanhwa lila ngarwa me pa dan semlar kyo me do tene chundan de yong saba da chumba yang da bor Zoba san genel da me var ke chigchen de ki var da tambi chopa makar bo chigir nam ran shin de gebim do de chem Shanchu Senghar Namlang Damba Dang, Sanji Damchi Ji Yongsu Zong Ru Xiat Ler, Kajik Tenye Lam Nying Len Da, La Dam Ji Bab De Dam Ji Ba, Tsang Ba Dam Ji Bin Jik Ten Da, Gev Zhong Nong Cham Ze, Kir Gem Dan Dang Ge Long Da, Nam Ji Gong Tan La Dev Zhang Shak Ba Pong Bo, La Ba Me Bim Nyang An Len De Bi Yang Se, Nyang An Len De Ba, Ji So, Ma Pan Ba De Nip Chang Den, Teng Sa Ba Zhab Zhang Ba Yang Do Bar Zhang Nye Da, Zhong Me Di, Shanchu Senghar Chen Bo, Huar Ji Nyang Bo Ji Xia, La Na Me Ba Yang Do Bar Zo Ba Sang Ji, Shanchu De, Long Dan Nen Kur De Da Tam Chi Lab Ka Tsar Ba, Ge Long Da, Shanchu Senghar, Huar Ji Nyang Bo Da, Ngi Go Da La Na Me Ba Yang Do Bar Zo Ba Shanchu De Ngombar Zo Bar Sang Ji, Arte De Zhang Sa Ba Zhab Zhang Ba Yang Do Bar Zo Ba Sang Ji, Zhama Me Ba Zhen Ba Ji, Xiao Ren Ji Ro Ji, Song So, Ma Pan Ba Ten Nip Chang Den, Teng Sa Ba Zhab Zhang Ba Yang Do Bar Zo Ba Sang Ji, Nyer Da Zhun Me Num Mu, Gong Ji Tan La, Pong Bo Lak Ma Me Ba Yang Sim, Nying Len De, Pong Bo Lak Ma Me Ba Yang Sim, Nying Len De, Ne, Dan Bi Chu Pa Ma Kar Bo, Nam Zhang Te Yang, Shan Chu Sen Hua, Wen Chuk Di, Lang De Var Ko, Gya Chi Var De, Chong Den De Nying Len De Ne Ti, Dan Ba La Yang Da Bar Dan Do, Ma Pa
Mapamba, John Dendedi, Luju Lasso Babia Pote of Shanchiva, San Hua, Wumcho, Lomertia, Tian Laname Band of Shanchip, Yonser, Member Shizo, Teta, Tigo, the Sanjia to Gaton Bontonte, Kurt Shine, Teta, Tamjin Laname Band of Shanchip, the Somber, Mumbers over San, Teta Tamana, the Sabat Jumano of Santi, Marmens, Loma Diabo, Teta Lady, Chi, Raptor, the Kurt, the Shiki, Kela, the Water Baron Dope, Tela, Tambi, Tsutan, Ike, Muzzin, Macharte, Man, Yang, Chando, the Jisha, Retirto, Teneti, Savati, San Jisha, to get on Nibershizo, Nibershini, after Shibadan, Zimber Shibadan, Romor Shibadan, Jabru Shibadan, Kara Shibadan, Jumjo Shibadan, Mabamba, Tina, Jansusan, Wuncho, Jisha, Mepertirati, Janzi, Emberham, Kudu, Somnigam, Yanigam, Tesum, the Ternate, Marta, Virginia, Ko, Titsena, Titan, Jansusan, Wuncho, Jisha, Maritirto, Yan Jansusan, what Jando Jisha, Lelo, Janda Kiratina, Mabama, Chuni, Titina, Jansusan, Jansusan, Jando the Jisha, Lelo Janda Kiratina.
Manjushri Bodhisattva is quite interesting. Manjushri Bodhisattva said, I was Bodhisattva, wonderful light, then remarkable. Told Maitreya Bodhisattva, back then you were the lazy one called Bodhisattva, seeking fame, that was you. Maitreya Bodhisattva wanted Manjushri Bodhisattva. Among many followers, he wanted him to explain this origin. Manjushri stood up and said, back then you were a very lazy person. Fortunately, it was Maitreya Bodhisattva, otherwise, among so many people, someone would definitely be upset.
Mapambating Kor Namjan de la Jondan de Day, Shingartender, Tavi was the Tom Tone Jondan de Tambichu Pamaka, Tambichu, Papmakaru, Chujir Namjam, or the Shinder, Dor de Shinder, Jeba Chimbo, Shepherd Jiba, Nyamber Shedo, the Ninja Orjon, Jerry, Titon, Jeber, Tonjan, Six, Japan, the third May so. Cheese, you用寄送的方式来这么说的，这个字看的不是很清楚。对不对呢？对不对？那么实际是怎么呢？咱们三姐妹就搞了讲，这次叫人中啊，就给说。산나녀다 조마지샤와 길근jem 바테나 추르톤테 셈센탐신 타이 시와 남브란더르 샹츠상화 삼이 시와르톤 망보테도 이시 양덕은저더 남브란jem 바존네 결와이 디체나 트지게보도 투침보도 쇼와 템통네 인도르방 탐치는 녀와 랍도 쇼 지템 공보테 추샤바 타잉이 버탐빔 도르템초 Dina Mana Shinder Jibim Dorde Je, Jojon Shia, Jojon, Remembering Jembati, Shabmata, De Zerkachi, Germo, John Jenny, Tai, Nefton Tang Zen Bala, Tumcho, Children, Junior Sanctum, that Lai Meto Mandara, Power, Maldon Bayergana, Dang, Shon, Ladan, Novision, Barian, Nanlan Koder, Ni tamba lan chopar shit janam janam tema thawda ayo teni ngomsar rmata shon ker mansam nen shinder jeba yi Jim Bago Zer Chigber Raftan 实际上有是吧？你那个是不是清楚一点？对，那你怎么清楚的不给我看？别人会不会说我在发错三花手机？我看，사당 노진 당는 건 그다 방根本你把他们就把写的让他们 tema tawda yo tena ngomzar mata shongor ger manzum nena shindar deba yi njembi gozir chigbo rapta tang sharji shoksu gozir te song we janam tomcha pcho geda tsangwa ta rapta nawen jikten tamchid mzi semjir namji shimpo shkewar tonar nambar njembi gozir te yim to terta nena lalar ranchina jan te kato pya chasha Mandra im dogo tenar dik par na zor na wa ger la da ma da te jin ono jin le lai wo mo zha magam che gangnam de wa xia bam chu de zhen ba de da ji ten kam nam chu ji na ji ten ran shong de da nyer na wa ser kim chu dong ta war tana de ben re yi wen na ser zu jin kur ji wen na chu na rap da song yang na nyang to zhang mayen de shig nyang to te ni tsad me pa su jang da nam ren ba yi wo zir go ki te da tam chi to no zon ji dan jang ce chim ma nyam de ce chim kyo me nor ren chen an da mo mom gu na te da re yi sar ta na ne sham sho pa te da na wa ran ger do ba tam chen ma li yong so dong Tambab zo bir topchen sangtan la shanchu sanhwa kongko shirnin ma gozir pa yi tedag tamchidar na kyo pa me chang yo me para yang zod ne sangtan gajam nyambar vjag tedag sandu shanchim chogla ji de ro shabi tiki chen da yang tag zabji zagba me pe ni shinda shine yang tag tombram zedan jikten namata na chu yang chada tenji she par deksha tayi na nyamar dawa droma teyim ti shongbin koroji tedag tongnes tezi tamcha gawag nes kira Dartarji Shirji Pansan, Onojan Lada Mayem Chutjang, Chutma Ranvar, Jiktin Jimba Tangzan, Levjang, Te Churma Shanchu Sanhua Kam Ke Pa Gonchuk Che, De Tizi Kadak Som, Ke Pa Kyotna Jiktin Mugdang Lam, Ngai Chun Zan Shind, Yiftan Be, Jirtarak Chukchak Pamshir, Ngepshat Pa, Ngai Chun Zundala Kyot, Ngonsum, Shanchu Sanhua Mambo Kundi, Koda, Gawar Shishan Shind, Ngok ne vartir karwa chikche samar na titsil yarate yi chumchug shada dangchig tangna jigban jigtin ngona chumchug tamba tangna kamsha pate ta tamchig gumchug dibi che chur me ber yarate yi shinda zan yarate yi chuji amchug shate kiwo tamarat agavshi ne ti nyambar harchi jigtin dan nabran jemba te indar kada son ngai chuji tsirnda raptan te chuji ramjin chinru shazan di gerlong to napki kontan la nganam nyangan debra tila baba ngai tambandala rabshon la bagmen mayan tapi nyambur ki karashia chokching debra yang jarwa changchong chimbur nipar kar kani tamba shindam nyarwa nyangan deba daviti to san jechernam ngombar kibe de ngar rabdan shindar dambaran jar chokchosami shia mangte dagla mai wangbur jarpo gu shong wa nyangan dedang gebjong manjig ji ngai go da san jem jongwa no shanchu sanhwa hwarnyam keban de zagmed yi shin de la tobar ri ngai shanchim chogro tobjer de shandang yanlag chme jerwa gong de se de nam gong don tan la z gemme medan drawaram nyan de ir ka don shin de jeber jem churtem shiwa chog tai so di na gerlong de jin gerlong ma kanam shanchim chogla ravji de dersha de tan lam gong sumbe de dang manyo gong Tese Churmar Ganjira Gerlona, Ganga Chude, Zonwa, Gunchukte, Vartikara Gacha Sanvarati, Karatelam Chukda Raptor Tunte, Lumerjera, Gada, Gatak, Tetak Tamchi Yonsar, Member Gate, Tedoksha, Chukju Mambom Dan Rancho Jimbote, Kurtai, Tese, Shapar Jisa, Tanshan and Jitin Mambo comes Santi Kira, Chig, Chig, the Tetak Jevjan, the Shanchim Chukda, Chiki, Chilong, Tana, Santi, Tetak Ramkim Jongwa, Tamar Jerva, Marme, Zaparte, Hai, Hamchok Changchong, Mambo, Chok, Chok, Tongchong Manum, the Ganum de Shakchi, the Ganhun of Devrak Shapati, Te, Tsena, Gunchuk, Churmavi, Flob Martetan, Danjan, Lelo, Jan, Shibi, Ketan, Nietpan Sorata, Shinda Chaparandope, Shiche, Jan, Joni, Jung the Devra, Te, Katon, Lono, Devjin, 근 대전 근 디체나 디체나 샤파 남 zen dei mayang derter jishir jir chagbandu pa shus number chag deyang gewa namji le de tagan jember ngumber diber shibane san jir tom chag shiwa nivshi de de dom chopar yechir shiber jir jisim tumbi shopar avjedne san ji shakya sangen dayang tong de nan dar yang tamar jirwarte jibjin shangjim chogyang tobar jir shambi rigs jordan des jir chog tom chag shiwa number dar de shamnyan de bi tambala te celelo chanda kanjar paten tinr jirwa chun nyoto te che churmar jirwa ko te dang te ji te yi shi chagba te tim jong ngon che te no ko tong jirba te ji te la tang sam tong wa na ngi ber jirwa gong bo kan der ji shik ji jirbo chimbo tambar ze te che ko nam jam chok tu jang te da chmo do chin Teze ko danjo shakti jarbo chembo dangzi be jang teze ko nam jam chogo to jang te dang nyan nan di jang shabar gong te yi te nye de te rang yong zo jir nambar jembar nam ji ta ke ba shakti san ke yang da jong ze te chu ji ngbo bo shak jar ton bar jir dharma jar te sem zong zong bar ji jikten pan jang tu ze jikten pan jang tu ze ton jir te tai bai chu ji charwan ba gang da shang chi jing or ngom bram za da shang chi san hua shir ji ba shang chi san hua shang chi sem hua shang chi shir ji ba gang da ke ba te ni ji jir ba te da nam ji som ni gang da yang ni te som gang ser jir ba tam bi chu pa ma kar bo chu ji nam jang le alang ji le gar te tang bo wo
Next, let's talk about the Lotus Sutra. I didn't have time to look at it in detail today. I just skimmed through it a bit in the car earlier. Hopefully that's okay. If I can explain something literally, I will. Can't explain, I heard you are making lecture notes and taking notes. So in that case, you should, maybe some of what I say today is correct and some might not be. If something is not entirely correct, you should refer to other commentaries and follow the original meaning as the standard. As for our Lotus Sutra, in particular, we discussed the first chapter discussing the origin. So what is the origin of the Lotus Sutra? Earlier we explained it in a rather simple and straightforward way. At that time, the Buddha entered into meditation and emitted light. He revealed the Pure Lands in the East. There were 6 auspicious signs at home and 6 abroad. After these scenes appeared, Maitreya considered this question, it would be most appropriate for Manjushri Bodhisattva to answer. So using both verse and prose, he asked Manjushri Bodhisattva to respond with great reverence. He didn't expect that later Manjushri Bodhisattva would end up talking about him. Indeed, Manjushri Bodhisattva is widely mentioned in many of our scriptures. Manjushri Bodhisattva has made sincere aspirations before all the Buddhas. And this is not just a saying. There should be a scripture in Tang esoteric Buddhism called the Great Teaching King Sutra. This Great Teaching King Sutra also in this context makes reference to it as well. At that time, Shakyamuni Buddha asked Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, among all the Bodhisattvas, you are the most qualified. He made his aspiration a long time ago. So, in your view, before whom did all the Buddhas actually give rise to bodhicitta? At that time, Samantabhadra Bodhisattva told the Buddha, it should be Manjushri Bodhisattva. A very, very long time ago, in the distant past, when Manjushri Bodhisattva was there, at a time when no one had yet truly generated bodhicitta. Indeed, he encouraged and inspired many people to give rise to bodhicitta. Once he said, I will develop bodhicitta and liberate sentient beings. Who among you will join me in this aspiration and vow? At that time, 5 people joined him in making this vow. After they made this aspiration together, these 5 became the current Akshobhya Buddha of the East and Ratnasambhava Buddha of the South. Avalokiteshvara King Buddha of the West, who should be Amitabha Buddha. Amoghasiddhi Buddha of the North, and Vairocana Buddha in the center. In other words, a very, very long time ago, in fact, Manjushri Bodhisattva, these Buddhas also made their aspirations with Manjushri Bodhisattva. In some sutras, some say that Manjushri Bodhisattva is a Buddha from distant past who has returned. On one hand, we truly regard him as a Bodhisattva, reciting Manjushri's mantra to gain wisdom. In the lives of the 8 great Bodhisattvas, Mipam Rinpoche cites various different scriptures. Some ancient scriptures record that Manjushri Bodhisattva is destined to become a Buddha in the future. Some scriptures, in fact, record that Manjushri Bodhisattva attained Buddhahood long ago. Some scriptures say somewhere he attained Buddhahood, turning the Dharma wheel. This is also mentioned in the biography of Manjushri Bodhisattva as well. Scriptural evidence, Manjushri Bodhisattva, Lives of 8 Great Bodhisattvas. I cited the records of Mount Wutai. I wrote something in Tibetan long ago when I was 25 years old. It was written in Tibetan. Pilgrims to Mount Wutai centered on the Great White Pagoda facing east. When many Tibetan lamas visit Mount, they say, this approach is still acceptable. National Preceptor Zhang Jia and others introduced, all of those introductions were very brief, very brief. When the Dharma King went there at that time, Khenpo asked me to translate materials. I used Tibetan and Chinese traditions, including a lot of valuable information about Mount Wutai. A few years ago, I wanted to review it, but I didn't have time. In the Tibetan version, if any of you understand Tibetan and want to make a pilgrimage to Mount Wutai, if you like, you can always take a look at my brief introduction or overview of Mount Wutai. Those who truly understand the Tibetan language, what does that mean? Do you understand? So honestly, it's really quite useless to tell you about it. In that particular discussion, I talked in detail about the many great merits and profound virtues of Manjushri Bodhisattva. Therefore, today, as we discuss Manjushri Bodhisattva, at this moment, he says to Maitreya Bodhisattva, good men, if I consider it according to my own personal thoughts and reflections. Such an especially extraordinary light appearing today should mean that Shakyamuni Buddha, in this context, intends and wishes to expound the great Dharma and will let the great Dharma rain descend so that the minds of countless sentient beings may be nourished. He will sound the great Dharma conch, solemnly summoning and carefully guiding many sentient beings. He will beat the great Dharma drum, awakening many beings from the slumber of confusion. He will also expound the meaning of the great Dharma, explaining the principles of the Mahayana teachings. This will enable many sentient beings to attain liberation. Manjushri Bodhisattva told Maitreya Bodhisattva, good men in the past, I too once witnessed this auspicious sign. Maitreya Bodhisattva said, among us, the one most qualified is, he may have seen it before, as was mentioned earlier on. Manjushri said, I have indeed seen it before, and I have also emitted such light. At that time, the Buddha taught great Dharma. In fact, today we will mainly talk about the Buddha Dipamkara, the Chandrasua Triya Pradipa Buddha. In the past, when the Buddha of Sun, Moon and Lamp expounded the Lotus Sutra, there was also, in addition, such an auspicious, the Sun and Moon Lamp Buddha also has this name. A total of 20,000 Buddhas appeared. When the last of these Buddhas appeared, before this Buddha renounced the household life, he had in total 8 princes. Later on, this final Buddha of the sun, the moon, and the lamp, when he turned the Dharma wheel, there was a Bodhisattva named Wonderful Light. Bodhisattva Wonderful Light also witnessed everything. This Bodhisattva is the current Manjushri Bodhisattva, mentioned again soon. Bodhisattva Wonderful Light had several remarkable qualities. One was that he expounded the Lotus Sutra for 80 kalpas. Also, at that time, the original 8 princes of the Buddha of Sun, Moon, and Lamp. He inspired them to give rise to the aspiration for Buddhahood. Furthermore, at that time, Metteyya Bodhisattva was commonly known as the seeker of fame. He encouraged that Bodhisattva to generate bodhicitta as well. So Manjushri Bodhisattva is very kind to all, including Shakyamuni Buddha himself. Some scriptures say Shakyamuni Buddha also made vows before Manjushri Bodhisattva. However, Shakyamuni Buddha was of sharp faculties and was ahead of Maitreya Bodhisattva. Originally, he made his vows later, but he attained Buddhahood earlier. Maitreya Bodhisattva, on the other hand, is indeed different. He gave rise to the Bodhi mind 42 kalpas ago, but because he was rather lazy and somewhat lax for these reasons, the future Maitreya Buddha, who is awaited, is thoughtfully evaluated in many different sutras. Some say he's lazy, some say he has flaws, just like when electing a president, the future president may have. But the one unique advantage of Maitreya Bodhisattva is that he made offerings to countless Buddhas. He possesses an especially strong, compassionate heart and other qualities. These are his strengths. Even when generating bodhicitta Buddhas have their differences, each Buddha has their own unique characteristics. Here it is said that according to the careful and insightful estimation of Manjushri Bodhisattva as described in the teachings, the Buddha should now be about to turn the great Dharma wheel. So we should understand that today, Shakyamuni Buddha emitting light is the same. He definitely wants sentient beings to attain something that is, in fact, almost unbelievable and truly incredible in this world. Lotus Sutra is Mahayana Buddhism. It is very hard to believe. Many great masters have given teachings and realizations on it. From this perspective, the Lotus Sutra teaches the most profound principles. He said that today, the Buddha will surely let everyone hear a teaching, a dharma that is hard for sentient beings to believe. He will definitely teach it very soon. That's why such truly auspicious and promising signs have appeared right here today at this very moment. Then Manjushri Bodhisattva goes on to explain in detail. Didn't he just say that he had indeed seen it before? How did he see it in the past? He said, good man, countless, boundless, inconceivable kalpas ago, long ago, there was a Buddha known as Sun, Moon, Lamp Tathagata, a title that reflected his wisdom and the light he brought to others. He possessed the 10 titles of a Buddha. Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly enlightened one. Perfect in knowledge and conduct, well gone, one knower of the world and surpassed, one tamer of beings. Teacher of gods and humans, Buddha, world-honored one. He possessed the 10 titles and 10 characteristics of a Tathagata. He had these qualities. Moreover, when he turned the Dharma wheel at that particular time, it was just like how Shakyamuni Buddha turned the good in the beginning, good in the middle, good in the end. Its meaning was profound and its phrasing skillful, pure, unadulterated, and bearing the marks of immaculate Brahmacharya. As for the 3 jewels regarding the Buddha and the Dharma, ornament of Mahayana Sutras, Sutra on recollecting the 3 jewels, these have already been introduced. There are only some slight differences in terminology, but we just better Kumarajiva's translations compared to many others. They're also quite similar. For example, terms such as tamer of beings and the supreme one, which were mentioned earlier, are rendered differently in our recitation collections. But I think this approach is also acceptable. This is also in line with the characteristics of the Tibetan language. At that time, the Buddha turned the Dharma wheel of the true characteristics of the Dharma. His turning of the Dharma wheel was just like what the Buddha does now. For the sake of the Śrāvakas, he taught the Dharma of the 4 Noble Truths to transcend birth, aging, sickness, death. For independent awakeners, he explained the 12 factors. For the Bodhisattvas, he taught the 6 perfections, known as the Paramitas, to truly attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi and attain omniscient wisdom and Buddhahood. As described in Abhisamaya Alakara, omniscient wisdom is the Buddha's supreme wisdom. Therefore, in his teachings, the 3 vehicles were also carefully expounded. As stated in the 10-Wheel Sutra, like a wish-fulfilling jewel that accords with the desires of sentient beings, the 3 vehicles fulfill the wishes of sentient beings, meaning wish-fulfilling yol. It can satisfy the capacities of all different kinds of sentient beings. Then in Buddhism, such 3 vehicles can fulfill the wishes of all living beings. through the three vehicles, all beings' wishes are met. Some prefer the teachings of the Śrāvaka vehicle. Some prefer Pratyekabuddha. Some prefer the teachings of the Bodhisattva vehicle. Therefore, the order in which he taught the Dharmatha way Buddha Dipakara, Sun and Moon Lamp Buddha, taught at that time was like the Buddha teaches with the three vehicles. It was, not limited to only one vehicle. After that, another Buddha named Sun, Moon, Lamp Buddha. After that, there was yet another Buddha who was known as the Sun and Moon Lamp Buddha, appearing at that time. In this way, with the same name, 20,000 Buddhas have already appeared in the world. All of them had the same name. In fact, they were all commonly referred to as the Sun and Moon Lamp Buddha. They all shared the same surname, which was Bharadvaj. Bharadvaja is generally considered in India to be a quick-witted, sharp, and accomplished lineage. It seems that in India, people generally regard it as a very good caste. All of their surnames were like this. Then Manjushri Bodhisattva, with great respect and in a gentle voice, said to Maitreya Bodhisattva, the first Buddha and the last Buddha among these 20,000 Buddhas had the same name. In fact, as we know, there are many inconceivable phenomena in this world. All of these 20,000 Buddhas were each called the Sun and Moon Lamp Buddha. They all possessed the 10 epithets of a Buddha. Moreover, all the teachings they expounded, the Dharma taught by so many Buddhas, were all virtuous teachings, good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end, meant to help sentient beings ultimately attain true liberation. The last Venerable Sun and Moon Lamp Buddha, before he formally renounced the household life, he had 8 princes in total. The first was named Intent. The second was named Good Intent. The third was Infinite Intent, and the fourth, Dual Intent. The fifth was Increasing Intent, and the sixth was Doubt-Removing Intent. The seventh was known as Echoing Intent, and the eighth, which followed, was called Dharma Intent. Their surname was last, and all were intent. If it were in other places, what is Chang? What is Wang? They all have the character E specifically right behind them. These 8 princes had majestic power and freedom, dominating and ruling over the 4 continents and the world, across all lands. They were truly remarkable princes. At that time, when these princes heard that their father, Sun and Moon Lamp Buddha, had left home after attaining Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, 8 princes gave up their thrones and became monks, arousing the bodhicitta of the Mahayana and studying the practice of the Mahayana teachings. They practiced the pure conduct for a long time and eventually all became Dharma teachers. Moreover, in the presence of countless Buddhas, they generated bodhicitta, accumulated merit, and planted virtues. At this moment, Buddha Sun and Moon Lamp expounded the Mahayana Dharma. This Buddha had already attained Buddhahood. The 8 princes were not introduced further. The sutra that this Buddha taught was called the Infinite Meaning Sutra. In the Tibetan Buddhist canon, this should be an independent scripture. It is already separated here. It teaches bodhisattva practice methods, what all Buddhas protect and cherish. After this sutra was finished, he sat cross-legged among the assembly. He entered the samadhi of infinite meanings. His body and mind were undisturbed, tranquil. At this time, as when Shakyamuni Buddha entered, beautiful Mandarava flowers and magnificent, great Mandarava flowers gently rained down from the heavens above. There were Manjushaka flowers and great Manjushaka flowers, and these flowers also fell upon the Buddha Sun Moon Lamp and the rest of the great assembly. The world had 6 kinds of tremors, just like before. At this time in the assembly, there were bhikshus, bhikshunis, upasakas, devas, yakshas, gandharvas, asuras, and so on. Humans and non-humans, kings and wheel-turning kings, among others. They witnessed something unprecedented, something extremely rare. Everyone put their palms and gazed at the Tathagata. At this moment, the Tathagata, just like Shakyamuni Buddha earlier, emitted light from the white hair between his eyebrows, the white urna radiating light, illuminating 18,000 Buddha lands to the east, leaving not a single one untouched. All the phenomena that appeared at that time were exactly the same as all the various phenomena and remarkable occurrences that appeared today in the presence of Shakyamuni Buddha, just as witnessed and described. Manjushri told Maitreya, no, that at that time in the assembly, there were 2 billion bodhisattvas awaiting the Dharma. It's like the 80,000 people with Shakyamuni Buddha on that day, right? But the scene back then was even grander, 2 billion. Though whether this is an actual number or a figurative one is unclear. Then all the bodhisattvas saw the Buddha emitting light and wondered what kind of unprecedented cause and condition this was. Everyone found it especially rare and was eager to know about this cause and condition. There was a bodhisattva named Wonderful Light Bodhisattva. Wonderful Light Bodhisattva is Manjushri Bodhisattva. It's just that at this moment in time, he's currently pretending not to know, as if he has no idea. So he says, there is actually a wonderful light bodhisattva here. This light bodhisattva is great. He himself, in total, has as many as 800 disciples. This includes devoted lay practitioners, dedicated monastics, and even wandering lay people each, and every one of them, all among them, 800. But among them, only some were truly practicing and genuinely engaged in study and contemplation. Many people had just recently signed up to be there for the event. At this particular moment in time, the Buddha known as Sun Moon Lamp slowly and gracefully rose up from his deep and profound samadhi. Because of this wonderful light bodhisattva, he taught Mahayana Dharma to wonderful light bodhisattva and others. This teaching was called the Lotus Sutra of the Wonderful Dharma. So the Lotus Sutra of the Wonderful Dharma, even long ago, existed as the Lotus Sutra. The Lotus Sutra of Wonderful Dharma was expounded for 60 minor kalpas. The Buddha sat upon the Dharma seat in serene contemplation, and all those assembled also sat together in one place. For 60 kalpas, they did not move. The Buddha taught the Dharma, and they listened to the teachings. But in their experience, those 60 minor kalpas felt as if it was just the time it takes to eat a single meal, about an hour or so. That was how the Dharma was transmitted. This explanation is likely something that many of us have heard before, and we might already be quite familiar with it. In fact, Einstein once said that all time and space are in fact illusory. Time and space are illusory. When we talk about time among practitioners, as mentioned before, when Elder Master Suyun was practicing, he was boiling taro and then entered into meditation. When he emerged, the taro was cooked. But when he checked, more than half a month had passed. So perhaps in the snap of a finger, almost instantly, in the blink of an eye, with barely a moment passing, it could encompass turning the Dharma wheel. That's how it's described. Maybe the Buddha did teach 60 small kalpas and all the assembly stayed attentive. But their entire sense of time and experience, it happened in an instant, just a moment. An instant, at least, could be because the Lotus Sutra is quite long and we don't know what version they had. It must have been relatively brief, at least for a short period. This kind of conciseness and brevity, both in time and in space, should apply not only to time but also to space. For example, there's the story of Milarepa in the ox horn that we often mention. This is a story that is well known and recognized by Milarepa didn't shrink and the ox horn didn't expand. Yet he could live inside it quite freely and comfortably. As for this story, how is it actually told in Milarepa's original biography? At that time, Rechungpa returned from India and became a disciple of. Later, he went to India and studied. Returned to India. He had studied under Panditas and obtained some profound tantric teachings. When he came back, he was very happy. Today, I am going to meet thee. But now that I have received so many tantric teachings in India, if my guru truly has prestige, there's a line of people to welcome me. But my guru is so pitiful. He doesn't even have enough to eat or wear. His character is just average. He probably won't come to welcome me. After he returned, Milarepa didn't pay him any special attention either. He also realized that he had developed a great deal of arrogance. He was very arrogant when he arrived, and Milarepa didn't show him any particular respect either. Going to India didn't seem to mean much. Then he said, let's go out together. As they went out together, at that time Rechungpa kept thoughtfully thinking to himself, per Milarepa realization, my mind should be higher since I went to India. After all, he's just an ignorant person from a remote place like Tibet. I've already gone to India and studied under so many teachers. He was feeling very arrogant in his heart. As they walked, they came across a cow that had long since died. It was already rotting, and there was a cow horn. Milarepa asked, should we pick this up? Sometimes it can be useful. Then Rechungpa thought, oh, my guru sometimes says that all things should be abandoned. Now, even this cow horn, you can't eat it, you can't drink it. I have to pick this up, really. His anger is like a wild dog, and his greed is like an old, pitiful beggar on the street. He said, why do this? Pick up this cow horn. What's the use of it, anyway? Aren't we practitioners supposed to give up everything? Then Milarepa said, if you won't pick it up, I'll carry it myself. So he took the cow horn with him. They went to a vast open place where even a mouse couldn't hide. It was a large empty space. Suddenly, dark, ominous clouds gathered in the sky. Fierce, howling winds arose, and soon it started to hail heavily. The hailstones were just like the ones we get at our monastery. They were especially big. The two of them had nowhere to hide. Rechungpa was terrified. He was pelted so badly by the heavy hailstones all over his body. At this point, his master suddenly disappeared. Looking around, he saw Milarepa inside the cow horn saying, it's really nice in here. Please, come in, come in. The place feels so warm and welcoming, and I'm really glad to see you. I hope he truly and genuinely wanted to go in, but there was absolutely no possible way. Milarepa hadn't shrunk, and the cow horn wasn't any bigger. But he couldn't even manage to fit a single hand inside, not even one. At that moment, he gave up his old thoughts. My master and I are still different in realization. Even though I've studied well in theory, when it comes to realization, we are not the same. When he let go of this thought, he was still thinking, this master is really bad. Actually, in fact, he had learned hail summoning spells before he handed it over to me today, just earlier in person. He was still very caught up in dualistic thinking. After a while, Milarepa came out. He recited a mantra, and the rain stopped immediately. Then the master and disciple continued on their way. Back when I was in middle school, a few years ago, I was very ill at the time. I relied on an old lama. Every night he himself would tell fascinating stories about Milarepa. I really enjoyed it and would wonder which story he would tell that night. And that lama kept telling all sorts of interesting, captivating stories. This is how time and space are essentially in our universe. In an instant, in a very brief moment. Anyway, at that time, the Lotus Sutra was being taught. In that assembly, not a single person felt any physical discomfort or mental weariness. There was really none of that. When listening to the Dharma, one should not feel weary or bored. This is very important. Indeed, some of us at times in our Buddhist academy and in study groups as well, for over 10 years now, some people are enthusiastic listening to the Dharma, and the more they listen, the more inspired they feel. This shows the blessing of the three jewels merging in their hearts. In addition, from their previous lives, in Ornament Treatise, the seeds of past lives ripen. But some people, after listening for just a short while, start to feel pain in their legs or headaches. What series are there to watch available? Or all sorts of messy, worldly things. They can stay up all night without any problem. Listening to one class is just like King Prasenjit in the past, extremely painful. Apparently, the Sutra of Unprecedented Causes and Conditions, there's a scripture that says in the Bible, when King Prasenjit attended teachings, he felt especially tired at first. If we talk about the beginning of this story, Buddha renounced world. When he renounced the world, Yashodhara was unwilling, but there was nothing she could do. Later, after the Buddha attained enlightenment, some time passed, and the Buddha then asked others to request Rahula. He wanted his son, before renouncing the world, to become a monk. At that time, Yashodhara was unhappy. She said, I was doing just fine, I really was, but then you left home, and after that you stopped caring about me. Now my son and I are still living well together, as always. You don't care about me and you want our son to become a monk. I just can't take it anymore. She was very much opposed to it, clearly saying, back then, when 8 princes came to propose to me, I didn't choose any of them. I only chose you and you alone. But if you really want to become a monk, then why did you choose me back then? Why did you let me start a family and have a child? Because of this particular situation, I am especially dissatisfied and strongly opposed to it. Buddha bestowed blessings. In their past lives, they had made solemn vows together to each other. If the Buddha renounced the world, she would not create obstacles. Later, through his blessings, Yashodhara remembered the karmic connections from her previous lives. She let go of her attachment. It turned out that they really had been Brahmins together in the past. Back in 1998, there was a special performance about the story of Prince Yicheng. Famous actors from that production around today. There were both men and women present among them. But after more than 10 years, just like the actors from Dream of the Red Chamber, after 20 years, when everyone gathers together, they're all much older. So many of the well-known famous actors from back then are now a little older. But don't worry, even though at first glance they might look old or give the impression of being aged, at that time she recalled the karmic connections from her past life. Then Yasodhara, after a moment of consideration, she agreed to let Rahula become a monk. When Rahula ordained as a monk, King Suddhodana said, if my grandson can become a monk, then it's fine for the other princes to become monks as well. He praised this. At that time, along with Rahula, around 50 others became monks. After they were ordained, King Prasenajit was quite curious. If even the Buddha's own son, Rahula, had indeed become a monk, then I should go and see for myself. Later, when he went to visit, it just so happened that Shakyamuni Buddha turned the Dharma wheel teaching Dharma. Teaching began listening. While listening, his knees hurt and he ached. He just couldn't sit still and wanted to leave. Shouldn't leave early. Then, when there was a brief pause, the Buddha addressed Ananda. Buddha saw Prasenajit can't sit still. No supernatural powers needed can tell, like new lay practitioners. The Buddha didn't use any supernatural powers, couldn't sit still, change positions. Some lay practitioners kept shifting around. When he simply couldn't sit still in one posture for long, the Buddha asked Ananda to bring Rahula and other children to listen to the Dharma. At that moment, King Prasenajit said, "Then I'll leave. I can't take it anymore, I'm going to go. This is too much suffering." Buddha told him this isn't real suffering. Enduring the hardship of listening to the Dharma brings great merit and benefit. Greater sufferings, those of 3 lower realms. Wait longer. Rahula will be here soon and you can listen to the Dharma. At that moment, Rahula arrived. At that time, Rahula was very young. He said to the Buddha, "I just can't seem to fully understand the Dharma. My mind is still very immature and unready. For now, I'd rather just play. When I grow up, I'll come listen to teachings." Buddha said, "How will you grow up? After all, who knows if you might die before you grow up? If you don't listen to the Dharma now, who knows what will happen if you die later?" Then Rahula said, "I won't die. If I were to die, after all, I am the Buddha's own son, surely, without a doubt. The Buddha himself would protect me." The Buddha said, "Even I don't know. I have no way to guarantee that. Everything's actually impermanent. If I can't even guarantee it for myself, then how could I possibly protect you?" Then Rahula said, "Well, even if you can't protect me, that's fine. But I really don't understand. If I can't understand the Dharma, then it doesn't mean much to me." The Buddha said, "If you do not understand in your future life, perhaps at some point, if you listen carefully to the Dharma, you will surely gain tremendous merit." The Buddha said, hearing the Dharma is like nectar. Listening to the Dharma is like enjoying and savoring the finest, rich and nourishing cream. The merits of hearing the Buddha's teachings are compared to nectar, miraculous medicine, a great ship, and so on. Many metaphors described these merits. Afterwards, Rahula became much more obedient. Once he experienced the merit of hearing the Dharma, he no longer felt weary or bored. As for King Prasenajit, gradually his feet felt fine and he felt okay. After listening to the teachings for a day or two, he was basically able to sit still. Later, both his body and mind were free from suffering and he no longer felt any sense of weariness. So here I'd like to mention that in the future, for many of our Dharma friends, whether you are attending classes at the center or learning through DVDs, I hope everyone, if it feels a bit difficult at first, many counselors should patiently explain things to them. You should explain what it's like to begin listening to the Dharma. Otherwise, they won't be able to understand anything. Also, some institute beginners, including new monastics, strict ordination rules. So generally speaking, monks, they can sit through it without getting restless or annoyed, which is commendable. Dharma talk isn't very long. While listening to the teachings, everyone should truly regard it as something extremely, extremely important in their lives. Sometimes you can put it this way too. Perhaps the teachings you've heard from certain teachers or instructors over the years will become your fondest memories in the days to come. In your future life, they will be your greatest merit and your eternal wealth throughout your entire life. Money we're working hard to earn, we may not be able to take it with us when we die. But the merit and wealth gained from listening to even one class on Mahayana Buddhism, that we can absolutely take with us when we die. So don't let yourself feel weary or bored. Here, let me briefly share with you a story in the middle of this talk. Sometimes telling a story keeps everyone from dozing off, making sure no one loses focus. Practitioner told me, I'm not the story base, I'm the theory base. You must explain to me the elimination of alternatives in Buddhist logics. I've already forgotten it. Please explain the theory of eliminating alternatives in Buddhist logic. Next, let's talk about Buddha Dipankara, the Buddha of the lamp of the sun and moon. In fact, over the course of 60 small kalpas, as I just mentioned, he actually taught the Lotus Sutra, Brahma gods, Mara, ascetics, to humans, to gods, to asuras, and to all others. He solemnly and clearly proclaimed it. After I finally complete teaching the Lotus Sutra to my students, I will prepare to enter nirvana at midnight. There was a compassionate bodhisattva named Bodhisattva Virtue Treasury. Buddha Dipankara gave an important prediction and told everyone about it. Following parinirvana, Bodhisattva Virtue Treasury will become a Buddha. His Buddha name will be Pure Body, Tathagata, Arhat, perfectly enlightened one. Then the Buddha peacefully passed away. At midnight, he manifested nirvana without remainder. Post-Buddha nirvana, wonderful light. As for the words of Tathagata Virtue Treasury just now, he only gave him a prediction without mentioning his later circumstances. But just now, there was a bodhisattva named Wonderful Light who patiently and continuously kept teaching, sharing wisdom post-Buddha parinirvana. Some bodhisattvas continuously expounded the Mahayana teachings spoken by the Buddha. For example, after our Dharma King passed away, as their disciples, it is essential to continue teaching and expounding the Dharma. For instance, after Dharma King passed away, whether within the academy or outside, the disciples of the Dharma King, indeed, all over the world, should use their abilities to teach and spread the Dharma. I also hope that after many of our Khenpos and Khenmos pass away, their disciples will earnestly continue to teach and expound the Dharma. As for other things, like repaying them by building a stupa, these are not that important. You can do it or not do it, it doesn't really matter. Very gently place his remains and his hair carefully inside of it. I don't even have any hair. So I really feel these things are not very important. The most important thing truly is to carry on the Dharma. For example, when this Dharma teacher was alive, if he taught Lotus Sutra with good lineage, you should keep teaching, when he was alive, he was a Khenpo or Khenmo of the Pramana class, Khenpo or Khenmo of the Madhyamaka class. They might all be worried, thinking, does receiving a prophecy mean I'm going to die? So you must keep teaching the Dharma. This is very important. After Buddha's parinirvana, Myoko, wonderful light, he spent 80 minor kalpas continuously teaching the Lotus Sutra to others. The 8 princes, sons of sun, moon, lamp, Buddha, before he renounced the world, all regarded Bodhisattva Myoko as their teacher. Bodhisattva Myoko also inspired them to give rise to a firm aspiration for supreme enlightenment, Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. He also enabled these princes, after making offerings to countless hundreds of thousands of Buddhas, to ultimately and gradually attain the state of Buddhahood. The last Buddha was named Dipankara Buddha, the Buddha of the lamp of light. As for Bodhisattva Wonderful Light, didn't he have 800 disciples? Among those 800 disciples, there was one named Qiming, seeker of fame. He was especially greedy, notoriously so, and attached to profit and gain. Although he recited the scriptures, he had a poor memory. He would forget, or he couldn't fully comprehend or master the teachings. That's why he was called Qiming. And this was actually Maitreya Bodhisattva. Maitreya Bodhisattva kept asking Manjushri Bodhisattva to explain. Manjushri Bodhisattva said, he was your teacher. At that time, you were truly someone who was particularly greedy, especially for both fame and profit. But he had one good quality. Through many roots and causes and conditions, he encountered millions of Buddhas. He would often make offerings to them, show them respect, and praise them. This is Maitreya Bodhisattva's strength. Although he was somewhat rather focused on seeking fame and profit, and was forgetful as well. But he has one advantage. He has a better affinity with Buddha. His relations with superiors were good. Manjushri Bodhisattva turned to Maitreya Bodhisattva and said, Maitreya, please listen and understand what I am about to say. At that time, the Bodhisattva Wonderful Light was not someone else, it was me. Bodhisattva Wonderful Light is me. Wasn't Bodhisattva seeking fame actually you after all? Maitreya Bodhisattva must have felt quite embarrassed. He had just mentioned that in his view it was really all about seeking fame and personal gain. Nothing more, nothing less, truly. But now, seeing this truly auspicious sign, there's really no difference. So now I am reflecting on this. He started to contemplate and ponder deeply for a long time. Looking at it now, it seems clear that Shakyamuni Buddha will also in due course teach the Mahayana Lotus Sutra. He will let the Bodhisattvas uphold this sutra, a scripture protected and cherished by all Buddhas. This is the prose section for your reference. Now, as for the verses, let me just take a moment to check and see exactly what time it is. All right. Earlier, it was 8:30 in the morning when I spoke. I haven't looked at the verses yet. Let's take a look together. If I make mistakes when I explain later, look yourself, review literal meaning. It will be easier making lecture notes. If I've never actually said something like that before, it's really not very easy for them to try to organize it either. The meaning of the verse should be the same as the previous one. Are they actually the same or not? They are the same, aren't they? Right? Are there a lot? There are some, but not a large number. You could say there are a few people here, but it's not crowded or busy. The presence, so now let's see how it's explained in detail. Manjushri Bodhisattva was in the assembly. He once again reiterated and restated the meaning that was previously explained, this time thoughtfully presenting it in the form of verses. He said, I recall countless eons ago. At that time, among all the people living in the world, there was a teacher who was known as Buddha Sun Moon Lamp. This honored one expounded Dharma, liberating countless sentient beings. Countless bodhisattvas, with great devotion and unwavering resolve, gradually entered into the profound and boundless wisdom of the Buddha. He describes the events that followed. At that time, before the Buddha had left home, there were 8 princes. Seeing the Buddha, that is actually after my father became a monk at that time, these 8 princes also followed their father, went to a quiet place to practice pure conduct and became monks. At that time, the Buddha taught the Mahayana Dharma. This Mahayana Dharma is called the Infinite Meaning Sutra. He expounded it in detail among the assembly. After the Buddha had finished teaching the sutra, he sat cross-legged on the Dharma seat and entered the Samadhi of infinite meanings. At that moment, mantra flowers appeared and the heavenly drums of the gods began to sound spontaneously. All the devas, dragons, yakshas, and spirits, people naturally made various thoughtful and respectful offerings with very deep respect to the Buddha. At this time, in all the Buddha lands, the 6 auspicious signs of that land appeared. And when this happened, at that particular moment, 6 distinct kinds of tremors simultaneously occurred throughout the entire expanse of the Buddha land. A light shone forth from between the Buddha's eyebrows and all sorts of rare, and this light at that time illuminated 18,000 Buddha lands to the east and revealed the births and deaths of all sentient beings there, karmic retributions and all aspects of their lives, all of which became clear. At the same time, just as in our own Buddha land, in much the same way, the Buddhas could be seen, and those Buddha lands were also adorned with all kinds of precious treasures. For example, lapis lazuli, crystal, and various other precious lights and colors, all illuminated these Buddha lands. There were many heavenly beings, dragon kings, yakshas, and sentient beings, as well as Gandharvas and so on, who made offerings to the Buddhas of the Eastern worlds with great reverence and heartfelt devotion in many different kinds of ways. They saw the Tathagata then attain enlightenment with a body like a vast and majestic mountain of gleaming gold, adorned with flawless, perfect marks, each one subtle yet magnificent, radiating an aura of splendor and grace. Just like a golden image appearing within perfectly pure lapis lazuli, the world-honored one expounded the teachings of the Mahayana Dharma among the great assembly. In each and every one of these Buddha lands, there were countless beings, Śrāvakas and Pratyekabuddhas, and because of the Buddha's radiant light, all of these could be seen clearly. Right now, I am giving a rough explanation of the mantra Om Bodhisattva Hum. Maybe that's the case. Or maybe I somehow made an error in my explanation. Sometimes being like this is actually a bit better. Honestly, today, I just don't feel very confident at all. This describes the situation in the Eastern world then. At that time, some bhikshus in the mountains were diligently upholding pure precepts. They protected the precepts as if they were safeguarding a precious jewel. They guarded the precepts as carefully as their own eyes, maintaining them extremely well. At that time in the East, one could see the Bodhisattvas over there. They practiced patience, upheld the precepts, engaged in generosity, and so on. These practices were also extremely extraordinary. Moreover, their numbers are as countless as the sands of the Ganges, all illuminated by the Buddha's light. Those practicing the 6 paramitas were as many as the Ganges sand. They were illuminated by the Buddha's radiance. You can see if this is the right explanation. I didn't remember the Tibetan version now. They saw the Bodhisattvas again. This refers to upholding precepts, generosity, and patience. They entered profound samadhi with body and mind, undisturbed and stable. And in this way, they sought the path to Buddhahood. They also saw Bodhisattvas again. Through wisdom, they realized the most tranquil nature of all phenomena. And in various Buddha lands, they taught the Supreme Dharma. They helped sentient beings on the path. At this time, the fourfold assembly of disciples saw the thus come one sun, moon, lamp brightness, manifesting such great miraculous, causing countless sentient beings to feel immense joy in their hearts. And among themselves, they carefully and thoughtfully asked each other a series of questions. What is the cause of this? Today, in Shakyamuni Buddha's land as well, such things are appearing. Sometimes certain circumstances arise. That day, we took a group of students to the beautiful sacred mountain of Dokyin Langba, a place of great reverence. At that time, we quietly recited some important sutras there, taking our time. None saw anything. But later, it seemed that some lights appeared, which was quite rare. This really wasn't something we just made up. To be honest, normally I don't really believe in things like magical lights or beautiful rainbows. After seeing it that day, everyone felt it was quite extraordinary because that place is a very special site for discovering terma, hidden treasures. After we arrived, sometimes, due to various causes, people develop certain feelings and faith. But later on, well, maybe it wasn't really that either. Because the sunlight was quite strong at the time, and when the camera faces the sun, it's natural for all kinds of colors to appear. Maybe it was like that, or maybe there was another reason. But what exactly was it? Honestly, I don't really know either. Everyone asked each other, look, the Buddha manifested this kind of light and saw the Eastern world. What was the reason for this? Everyone was asking. Then the Buddha, revered by the Devas, emerged from the samadhi he had just entered and praised Bodhisattva, wonderful light. You are the ever-watchful eyes of the world. All beings everywhere take refuge in you and rely on your presence and unwavering support. And you are able to uphold the Tathagata's treasury of Dharma. Only you can truly realize such profound principles. After the world-honored one praised him, Bodhisattva, wonderful light, felt great joy. He then expounded the Lotus Sutra, continuing for 60 small kalpas without rising from his seat, teaching continuously and steadily. All the wondrous Dharma described above was received and upheld by Bodhisattva, wonderful light. All the Dharma that the Buddha taught was completely upheld by Bodhisattva, wonderful light. It has been passed down continuously to the present day. Lotus Sutra's teachings, in fact, are very important for us to first uphold ourselves. After we've upheld them, we should always do our very best throughout our lives. And you should hope in the future I will turn the great Dharma wheel of the Lotus Sutra. Even if you are 80 years old, you should make this aspiration. Maybe you are 80 years old now, and you can't know if you'll turn the Dharma wheel again. But even if you don't, you should still make this aspiration. You might say, maybe I won't find any disciples in this lifetime, but in my next life, I will definitely find the most and the best disciples. Make your aspiration in this way. This time, our circumstances are also indeed exceptionally auspicious. After the Buddha gave the Lotus Sutra, he inspired countless sentient beings to give rise to joy. And on that very day, he immediately told the assembly of humans and gods. And he spoke of the true nature, telling them, explaining it to them in a gentle and careful manner. Tonight at midnight, I will enter nirvana. You must always practice diligently and not be negligent. In this world, whether it is the Buddha entering nirvana or a master passing away at such times, there are often instructions for disciples on what. Actually, when we humans face death, whether it is a master or a disciple, we should maintain calmness, which is very important. For practitioners, in any situation, people often feel that this is something truly incredible. If one can remain calm in these situations, it's because their practice lets them be calm. Some people who are a bit more resilient or stronger can also remain calm through their own willpower. For example, when I am ill, as a practitioner, I cannot shout. Otherwise, people would say this practitioner cries so much for non-practitioners, clearly. So some people always think, as a practitioner, I shouldn't cry out. But that's not a result of spiritual attainment. Those people are just very tough. We often say, this practitioner is really good. In front of other practitioners who are present, they will still hold it in, and that's already pretty good. Otherwise, with just a slight headache or a minor bump, they'd be like, I can't take it, I'm gonna die. Sometimes what doctors actually see in some cases aren't serious illnesses, but just a little bit of pain, and they simply can't handle it. I've seen many fellow practitioners like this. This particular story is actually quite truly remarkable. At that time, the wise and compassionate Buddha Dipamkara gently told his devoted and attentive group of loyal disciples, don't be negligent, practice diligently. It is extremely rare to encounter a Buddha. It only truly happens once in countless eons. And when the disciples of Buddha heard of the Buddha's parinirvana, each of them was especially sorrowful. They wondered with great surprise and disbelief how the Buddha could enter parinirvana so very soon indeed. How could this be? At that time, the Buddha, as the Holy Lord, King of the Dharma, comforted countless beings. It should be the Buddha consoled countless sentient beings, telling them, when I enter nirvana, you should not be afraid or worried. And there was also Bodhisattva Dezang, who in the near future would quickly achieve enlightenment, attain the undefiled true nature. And his mind would also gain supernatural powers. He will be the Buddha who comes after me, and his name will be Tathagata, pure body. He will save countless sentient beings. After the Buddha finished speaking, he entered parinirvana in the middle of the night. Parinirvana here means nirvana without remainder. Just like a fire that has burned out all its wood, it is simply gone as if it never existed. And after it is gone, his relics were distributed to various countries where countless stupas were built. There were innumerable bhikshus and bhikshunis, as numerous as the sands of the Ganges. It was also after the Buddha's parinirvana that they became even more diligent in seeking the unsurpassed path. In fact, whether it is a spiritual teacher or a Buddha, or even the passing of someone close to us, when a person dies, everyone receives a kind of encouragement to be even more diligent. And this often happens. Bodhisattva Wonderful Light protected the Buddha's Dharma treasury. And for 80 minor kalpas, he expounded the Lotus Sutra because people live much longer. So we hope that no matter which Dharma teacher, Khenpo or master passes away, it is important to give teachings on the Lotus Sutra. Some people have said to me, isn't teaching the Lotus Sutra an inauspicious omen? After you finish teaching it, please don't die. I replied, pausing, well, it's really not that simple. Many spiritual teachers in the past have taught it many times. And afterwards, after teaching it to all of them, they didn't die either. Bodhisattva Wonderful Light said that at that particular time, all 8 royal princes were all indeed truly enlightened by the teachings of Wonderful Light, so that they developed a firm resolve for the unsurpassed path. They saw countless Buddhas and gave rise to supreme Bodhi. After making offerings to all the Buddhas, they carefully followed the great path to enlightenment and attained accomplishment. They received predictions of their future Buddhahood. Just now, the 8 princes and other disciples, later the Lord of Heaven, what we call the Supreme among humans, the Supreme among heavens, meaning even celestial beings greatly revere the Buddha. Just now, it wasn't Dipankara Buddha, but the last one, among the 8 princes, the last was Dipankara Buddha. He is the teacher of all sages and all holy beings. He will truly liberate countless sentient beings. At that time, Master Wonderful Light had a disciple. The heart is often lazy, sometimes hesitant, and greedy for fame and wealth in its desires. Chasing fame never tired. Chasing 8 worldly concerns, then chasing them again. He would go absolutely everywhere, visiting all sorts of different unique, varied, and interesting households. He neglected some of the scriptures that monastics should regularly recite. Moreover, his memory was poor. He was unfamiliar with the sutras. This kind of karma is called the Bodhisattva of seeking fame. The Bodhisattva seeking fame had a good quality. He practiced virtuous deeds and had encountered countless Buddhas. And every time he met a Buddha, because he went everywhere seeking alms, he was wealthy. And his offerings to them were generous. The Buddhas had a rather favorable and good impression of him. He followed the great path and practiced the 6 paramitas. Nowadays, some lay practitioners are like this as well. They don't practice properly. Today, upon seeing the Buddha in person, he was deeply moved and filled with reverence. With heartfelt respect, he exclaimed, "Now, with my own eyes, I behold the great lion of the Shakyas, the fully enlightened one, radiant in wisdom and compassion. In the future, inspired by this profound encounter, I too shall aspire to become a Buddha, following in his noble footsteps and seeking to attain the same awakening." Among the disciples who now see Shakyamuni Buddha, Maitreya Buddha is actually regarded as the very last Buddha in Buddhist tradition. When Maitreya Bodhisattva becomes a Buddha, he will also be called Maitreya. He will liberate countless sentient beings from every corner of the world with great boundless compassion. After that, Buddha enters nirvana. Who will be the one who becomes lax? That will be you. And who will be the wise and diligent wonderful light, the one who always seeks knowledge and works hard to help others? That will be me. For I am determined to shine brightly and lead the way with wisdom and care. Not bad. Honestly, I think I actually managed to explain that pretty well, in my opinion. If I do say so myself, to be fair. I didn't look just now, I was a bit nervous. However, after carefully looking into the situation, it appears that there really isn't any... Wasn't it Manjushri Bodhisattva who said this at the time? Back then, at that time, I saw the Buddha of lamplight. He really did emit such a light, a glow, that was clearly visible to everyone nearby, making it obvious. So I know that today the Buddha might also be teaching the Lotus Sutra. So today's auspicious signs are different from those at that time. In fact, they are identical. Everyone here today should understand, everyone should put their palms together in respect. We should look forward to the Buddha bestowing the rain of the wondrous Dharma from the Lotus Sutra, so that all seekers will certainly be completely satisfied. For those who seek the 3 vehicles, if you have doubts, they will be dispelled before the Buddha, and each of you will in due course most surely attain perfect accomplishment, truly achieving your fullest potential. All right, my oral exam is finished. I spent quite a bit of time preparing for it, and now that it's over, I feel relieved. Before the exam, I was a little nervous, but there are actually quite a few proctors present in the room, so you really have to make sure to behave yourself.
Bandara Badna Sadarda Bandara Badna Sada Bandara Badna Sadarda